Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was banished and he rebuilds Hidden Whirlpool Konoha Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Naruto had reappeared behind Natsu and Yusaka with an orange flash, while in his hero transformation. Welcome back, Lord Uzumaki. Needed an emergency makeout session? Natsu asked, teasing Naruto. With a slight blush, Naruto answered. No, the Akatsuki have started moving. I just helped with rescuing the cage. I killed one, and captured another. I see. Hope you had more fun than we did, said Natsu. So, nothing happened? Naruto, hero asked. Just some members of the Foundation again. Seems Danzo doesn't know when to quit. Yusaka informed, holding up a scroll. Bodies? Hiro asked. Yep. Before the seals could activate, and leave nothing behind. Natsu reported. Good. Gives us more leverage against the Leaf Council, should they try anything. Anyone else? Hiro asked. Just a couple hidden stone assassins. They struck just before Danzo's men did. Natsu replied. Relentless, aren't they? Hiro asked. What do you expect? It's war, said Yusaka. Yay, but after a year you'd think they'd stop. They've been getting their whooped, and they've barely put a dent in our forces. Hiro explained. Well, they're just like what their village is named after. They're stubborn like stones. Haha, said Yusaka, making a small joke. Naruto and Natsu just laughed in response, think it was a little funny. They went on for a while in silence, until Natsu decided to ask something. So, what went on with the cage? Did he make it? At first, no. Elder Chio of the Hidden Sand used a forbidden reanimation type jutsu to bring him back, but at the cost of her own life. Hiro answered, a bit of regret in his voice. There is no need to feel regret in what happened. Elder Chio made her choice, for whatever reason she had. She died the way she wanted. The way she thought was best for the Hidden Sand. Said Natsu, in an attempt to help his leader. PFF'd. Best for the Hidden Sand. Last time, that meant making an unborn child into a Jinchuriki. Effectively ruining his life. Hiro countered. That may be, but this time it was the right thing to do. If the change in leadership changes too often, then that could upset the balance between the hidden villages. Hell, it could even bring a warlord into power. And that's possibly the worst case scenario. Yusaka explained. Sai, you guys might be right. But still, I kind of feel like I forced her to do that. Hiro replied. Unless you held a kunai to her throat, I doubt you forced her to do anything. Besides, you should be more worried about the negotiations coming up. The Hokage and Shinobi Council are most likely all for this alliance, but the Civilian Council is a different story. Said Natsu. Yay, you're right, let's go show them that those civilians are in way over their heads. Hiro replied, after a moment of silence. So, how's Hinata doing? Yusaka asked, changing the topic. She's doing great. Her abilities were tested a few days ago, and she took out all of her teammates, and sensei, in a battle royal. Hiro replied, with a large smile on his face. Hey, couldn't have been easy for her, but she should be proud of herself for her accomplishment. Said Natsu, with a smile on his face as well. Yay, she should. She deserves it, said Hiro. Hidden Leaf Gates, next day. Halt. Please state your business here, said Katetsu, as he saw the three Whirlpool ninja entering the village gates. Coming up to the gate, it was Natsu who spoke. We are here for the negotiations between our two villages, said Natsu, who handed them their passports. Katetsu didn't respond as he went through their passports. He was matching the photos with their respective faces, as well as checking their authenticity. Finding no problems, Katetsu returned their passports. Welcome to the Hidden Leaf Village. I hope your stay here will be to your liking, Lord Uzumaki, Lord Chikara and Lord Kudo. Said Katetsu, as he bowed to show his respect. Thank you. I'm sure it will. It will be even better should our negotiations with the leaf comes out favorably. Hiro replied, before he and his companions followed after him. Hiro and company were silently walking through the village. As they walked, they noticed the stares from the villagers. Some of them smiled, others held curiosity or suspicion. But none of them held malice, which was a plus. The children waved to them, which made it even more so. Despite this, however, Yusaka held up his sensory jutsu in order to detect any threats. He felt multiple Anbu around them, but none of them gave off any threatening signs. Eventually, they made it to the Hokage's tower. They could see some civilians and ninja walking inside the tower. They recognized the clan heads as the shinobi that entered, and knew that they were the shinobi council. Which meant the civilians walking in were the civilian council. Looks like we got to see them, before they saw us. Good. I like it better that way, said Natsu. Same here. I recognize some of them, made my life difficult at times, said Naruto, hardly even moving his lips. Even so, Natsu and Yusaka heard him clearly. Naruto had managed to teach himself how to speak with being able to keep his lips still. And although there was some movements that couldn't be completely stopped, it still made it impossible to read his lips. Well, let's make them sweat a bit. Shall we? Yusaka asked, with a sly smile on his face. The same smile spread on Hiro and Natsu's faces, as Hiro replied with his motionless mouth. Yay! Let's do that. Let's go, Hiro said, as the last of the civilian council entered the tower. But before they went to the council chamber, they would have to inform the Hokage in her office. Or they would have, if an Anbu hadn't landed in front of them. Welcome, Lord Uzumaki. Lady Hokage has already been informed of your arrival, please make your way to the council chamber, said the Anbu. Very well. Thank you, Hiro replied. Council chamber. It had only been a minute since Tsunade entered the room, and already she was getting a headache. Silence, she yelled, and almost immediately those who were talking stopped. The hidden Whirlpool's leader and his escorts have arrived, said Tsunade, as she nodded toward the Anbu guarding the door. The Anbu then followed the silent order and opened the door to allow the Whirlpool ninja inside the room. The three entered the room, to a surprisingly silent council chamber. Once the door closed, the noise seemed to come back to life. The civilian council were murmuring to themselves about them. It was difficult to make out, but it seemed there was dislike and suspicion in their voices. It was Shikaku Nara who was the first to stand and speak out loud. Welcome to the Hidden Leaf Village. I hope your trip went smoothly, considering your village's situation. Thank you, Lord Nara. Aside from yesterday, the trip went well, Hiro replied. Hidden stone assassins, here, in the land of fire? Yelled one of the civilian councilmen. The man was a ways overweight, and balding. He had a goatee and was dressed in some fancy clothes, that looked like he couldn't afford on a merchant's salary. Not just hidden stone, but hidden leaf as well, said Yusaka, causing an uproar in the room. How dare you accuse us of sending assassins? Yelled the merchantman. What proof do you have of this? Yelled Danzo, putting up a facade. Since he knew they couldn't prove their claim. You want an alliance with us, yet you accuse us of such a thing. Yelled Kaharu. Silence. Yelled Tsunade, bringing everyone to quiet down. Now, Lord. Tsunade began, before she realized that the hidden Whirlpool's leader hadn't introduced his escorts. Yusaka Kudo, ma'am, said Yusaka. And I'm Natsu Chikara, said Natsu. Both of their names brought up a new set of murmuring among the civilian council. Even the shinobi council were surprised to hear their names. Lord Kudo. That is a serious claim. Can you prove this? Asked Tsunade. Yes, they can, Hiro answered, with such confidence in his voice that it even made Danzo nervous. We're aware that Anbu have a seal on them that allows their body to disintegrate after they've been killed. We have a counter seal to that seal. That's impossible. No one could possibly come up with a counter seal for it. And even if one could, it would be ineffective once it's been activated. Said Danzo, regaining his confidence in the Anbu seals. You're only half right. The other Uzumakis and I have managed to create a counter seal, but it does have to be applied before the Anbu dies. Each village's seal is different, but we've managed to make the counter seal universal. Hiro explained, as he pulled out a scroll that Yusaka had handed him the day before. Unraveling the scroll, Hiro unsealing one of the Anbu bodies sealed inside. Hiro lifted up the body into a sitting position, and took off his mask. Anyone recognize him? Hiro asked, looking for any signs of recognition on anyone's faces. He looks familiar. I've probably seen him around the village or something, said Inoichi, wondering where he's seen the young man. Well, Danzo Shimura certainly recognizes him. Seen him on a daily basis, Danzo? Yusaka asked, already knowing the answer. Are you accusing me, Lord Kudo? Danzo asked, as all eyes shifted toward him. I have a keen eye for detail. And as well as you think you can hide your emotions, well, not from me. Your eye widened ever so slightly once the body was reveled, and again once the mask was removed. Your breathing has quickened as well. These may seem insignificant, but I'm sure the seal on their tongues is only something you place on your root Anbu from your foundation. Yusaka explained. Hiro then opened the dead man's mouth and pulled out his tongue, revealing the seal on his tongue. Looky here. A seal that prevents him from speaking, when questioned. Said Hiro, just as he turned toward Danzo. You're the only one who does this kind of thing, Danzo. Standing up and slamming her hand on the table, Tsunade yelled. Danzo, what is the meaning of this? How dare you attempt to sabotage alliance negotiations, by assassinating the hidden Whirlpool's leader? Anbu. Danzo was then surrounded by 4 Anbu guards that were inside the room. I only did what was necessary to keep our village safe, was all Danzo said. And so you decided to kill me? Hiro asked, resealing the dead man in the scroll. Considering you have taken in rogue ninja, not just from our village, but other villages as well. And that you're not willing to reveal who they are. Yes. Danzo answered, without any emotion. Not unless the alliance is formed. You should have already been informed, that if the alliance is formed, you will receive a list of all the rogue ninja we've taken in. Weren't you informed of this? Hiro asked. Yes, we were, said Tsunade, before Danzo could give an answer. But that didn't stop him from asking a question of his own. Is Naruto Uzumaki on your list? Naruto Uzumaki is not a rogue ninja. As I understand it, this very council took him out of the ninja ranks. So, no, he is not on the list. Hiro answered, honestly, while throwing their poor decision in their faces. And he could see that they regretted that decision. He wondered how many regretted it because they thought of Naruto more as a human rather than a wielder of the 4th Hokage's jutsu. But you don't deny that he's in your village? Danzo asked, with a slight smirk. No, I didn't. But he's not in the hidden Whirlpool. I can guarantee you that. Hiro answered, with a similar smirk appearing on his face after the one on Danzo's vanished. Tsunade didn't agree with Danzo, but his question had somehow brought her some hope that she'd get to see Naruto again. But that went away as soon as Hiro said that he wasn't. Anbu, take him away, Tsunade ordered. Danzo didn't resist, but he figured he could get out of this somehow. I assume you'll want some sort of compensation then? Danzo asked, getting the civilian council riled up. Silence, Tsunade yelled, once again causing everyone to quiet down. But Lady Tsunade, he's already asking for a lot of compensation. For a no-good brat. And also for turning in the head of a traitor. He's already asking for too much, said the merchantman, earning a glare from the Hokage. And almost a glare from Natsu and Yusaka, but not from Hiro. So, you're calling a member of my clan a no-good brat? Hiro asked, sending a glare to the merchantman. That's right, I am. And from what I understand about the Uzumaki clan, their members had red hair. Not blonde. replied the man. Blood tests were positive. Naruto is of Uzumaki descent. The fact that his father is Minato Namikaze further proves this, considering the man was married to one Kushina Uzumaki. Kushina Uzumaki was born in the hidden whirlpool before she moved here. We found records that prove this. Natsu explained. As for compensation, just one thing. Not more money, so you'll be able to afford this, said Hiro, after moments of silence. Natsu had managed to shut the merchantman up. And what would that be, Lord Uzumaki? Asked Hiashi. Hiro looked toward him and answered. Simple. Danzo will no longer have any political power, from this point forward. He will also disband the foundation, and let his root Anbu return to a normal life. If they wish to be ninja, they must be under the Hokage's command. No one else. You can't make such a demand. You're not part of this village, and there is no alliance that has been made. Homura yelled, arguing Hiro's wishes. It's that or death. Such is the penalty for a diplomatic incident, isn't it? Even if it was just an attempt, it still requires a severe punishment. Your choice. Danzo's loss in politics and command of ninja, or his death. The latter of which could possibly result as a loss of force, considering he was a decent shinobi during his prime. And I'm sure he could lend some aid in the ninja arts. Be glad I'm giving you a choice. Any other village would want his head on a silver platter. Hiro countered, emphasizing the last two words to remind them of what he gave them, a certain someone's head. The room was silent as everyone contemplated about the choice they had to make. Oh, said Hiro, causing all eyes in the room to look at him. Because Danzo is still considered a shinobi of this village, the decision is the Hokage's alone. And possibly the shinobi councils as well. The civilian council have no say in this. Hiro explained, reminding the civilian council of their current political position. This earned Hiro glares from the civilian council, and smiles from the shinobi council. The smiles came because they were spared the upcoming argument about the civilian council's involvement, and they'd rather not waste their breath on that unnecessary headache. Lord Uzumaki, said Shibi Aburame, gaining everyone's attention. Yes, Lord Aburame, Hiro replied. You seem to know a lot about politics, despite that you seem to be in your early 20s. Yet, to be the leader of your village you must also be the strongest in your village. I also assume you are the one who brought the hidden whirlpool back in just 2 years, despite having been destroyed for decades. How did you accomplish all that at such a young age? Shibi finally asked. Let's just say I had some prior experience when it comes to underhanded politics. And I didn't rebuild the hidden whirlpool by myself. It started with just me and one other, until the former clans came back to help. The clan heads and elders helped me understand politics, as well as helped me train to become stronger. Anyway, shouldn't a decision be made about Danzo? Hiro asked, after a vague explanation. Lord Uzumaki is right. I've thought it over, and have come to a decision, stated Tsunade. I thank you, Lord Uzumaki, for giving us a choice. Personally, I'd rather just have Danzo executed. But, it may be best to have him suffer your punishment. Does the Shinobi Council agree? Tsunade asked. I agree, said Shikaku. I do as well, said Choza. As do I, stated Inoichi. Hiashi and Shibi simply nodded their agreement. Lady Tsunade, you can't be serious. That child shouldn't have any say in Danzo's punishment, said Kaharu, trying to spare Danzo's position. I believe you're forgetting Danzo's crime. Even the attempt on a ninja village leader's life is severely punishable. Tsunade half yelled. It's all right, Lady Tsunade, said Hiro, earning shocked looks from everyone. If the elders want Danzo dead, that's up to them. I only gave an alternative Danzo's situation. But, it seems that your village's elders prefer to follow the law and have Danzo executed. And as the almost victim, I'd be more than happy to perform the deed myself. Hiro finished, with a sadistic smile. The elders looked shocked. It had slipped their mind that the law's punishment for the crime Danzo had committed was death. And they just sent Danzo to death, despite the alternative they were given. Sai, well, the decision must be unanimous. We'll have to make this decision another time, until. Tsunade was interrupted, before she could finish speaking. Actually, Lady Hokage, I'd like the decision, now. Either you and your shinobi council make it, or I will. And I'm within my right to do so. My blade tasted blood yesterday, and I doubt it'll have a problem tasting blood again so soon. Said Hiro, his smile turning to a grin. When I said make them sweat a bit, I didn't think he'd take it this far. Yusaka thought, as he and Natsu's sweat dropped. To show that he meant what he was saying, Hiro slowly withdrew his blade from its sheath. Everyone could clearly see the orange blade, as it was brought in front of Hiro. Hiro held the tip of his sword toward the ground in a firm grip. His arm didn't move in the slightest, showing that he has great control of the blade. Is he seriously going to kill Danzo himself, right here? Was the collective thought of the shinobi council. Although no one cared too much for Danzo, they would rather avoid a killing in a place of talk. The situation was indeed bringing everyone to sweat. None more than Danzo and the other elders. Hiro took a step forward. Wait, I agree with the alternative. Homura yelled, in a quickened pace. I do as well, Kaharu yelled, hoping that Hiro wouldn't do anything rash. The room was in complete silence. It seemed so quiet that not even a cricket in the dead of night would dare to make a sound. It was only a couple of moments, but it felt like eternity to most of the people in the room. Damn, I was almost tempted to just cut Danzo. But, I accept Danzo's resignation, said Hiro, all malice removed from his smile. This caused a collective sweat drop from everyone in the room, except Hiro. Damn, I was almost hoping he'd go through with it. Tsunade thought. Hiro's face then turned serious. Danzo, I would like to speak to you in private after this meeting. And I would hate to look for you afterwards, said Hiro, in a voice that nearly sounded threatening. Danzo just gave a curt nod, as he was escorted out of the room. Alright, let's get back to the main reason why we're here, Tsunade ordered, once the doors were closed. I agree, said Hiro. Anyway, the reward for Orochimaru is a definite 50 million ryo no matter what. The compensation for a fellow clan member of mine if your choice. 100 million ryo for no alliance, and your forfeiture of the Uzumaki clan crest from your uniforms and headbands. Or 50 million ryo for an alliance, and you can keep our clan's crest on your uniforms and headbands. Hiro explained. Lord Uzumaki, wouldn't it make more sense to discuss what you could provide for us in trade and in military presence, before we come to a decision? Asked Shikaku. Hiro gave the question a moment of thought, before saying. Fair enough, I guess. Let's start with military presence. All, but one, of the clans from before have rejoined the village and have become even stronger. They've mastered their own jutsu to new levels. Because of this they rival Junin from even the 5 great nations. That's as far as I'm willing to reveal as far as that's concerned, said Hiro, seeing that there was an argument coming, so he continued to put a stop of it. We're currently not allied, so I don't have to reveal any more than I already have. But, we are willing to perform joint missions, if it's for the betterment of each village's security. Like the whole case cage incident. Hiro explained. How do you know about that? Kaharu asked, suspicious about how the young man knew about the situation. You don't honestly think that you're the only village we're attempting an alliance with, do you? Hiro asked, with a deadpanned expression. I've sent 2 more ninja to the hidden sand as well. They've assisted in the case cage's rescue. Hiro explained, seeing some confused faces among them. 2. You sent only 2 to the hidden sand. Which is 3 days farther from your village than we are, to which you sent 4. Homura asked. The 2 I sent there are stronger than the 4 I sent here, with the exception of Pakura. Hiro answered, waving his hand dismissively. Pakura, of the Scorch style? Shibi asked. Yes. And before you say anything, she is not a rogue ninja. She was declared Kia, after the hidden sand betrayed her by sending her to her death. So, I doubt the hidden sand will mind too much. Hiro answered, briefly explaining her situation. And I suppose the hidden sand will have more cooperation from you, as well? Asked a large merchant woman, who smelled a bit after fish. The negotiations with them have already begun. And they're experiencing the same amount of cooperation that you're getting. Hiro answered, with a smirk. You're trusting your messengers to accomplish the negotiations in your stead. Right? Tsunade asked. That's right. I'll be heading to the hidden sand after a few days of relaxing her, after our business has finished here and if the negotiations succeed. Hiro explained. I see. Then, what about trade agreements? Tsunade asked, after taking a deep breath. Well, for the past few years while we've been rebuilding our village, you've fallen short of one particular agricultural product. I'm willing to trade that for the abundant amount of apples your country grows. That good for starters? Hiro proposed, having little doubt. And what product is this? Koharu asked, genuinely curious about this product. A banana. A banana is an edible fruit, botanically a berry, produced by several kinds of large herbaceous flowering plants in the genus Musa family. The fruit is variable in size, color and firmness, but is usually elongated and curved, with soft flesh rich in starch covered with a rind which may be green, yellow, red, purple, or brown when ripe. The fruits grow in clusters hanging from the top of the plant. It also contains potassium. Am I right, Lord Uzumaki? Tsunade asked, after giving a brief explanation about the fruit. It's also my younger daughter's favorite food. I'm sure she'd be happy to finally have a taste of that fruit after so long, since the land of eddies was the only place we could obtain that fruit. Said Hiashi. Truth be told, Hanabi seemed to be in constant bad mood after the halt in the village's intake of said fruit. There's other fruits as well. Avocado, breadfruit, balimbi, etc. Said Hiro, giving them more info on their tropical fruits. Not to mention our country is twice its farmer size, thanks to our Earth-style users. Hiro thought. That's great news, to have those products coming into the village. We'll put up a list foods we could trade as well. Said Tsunade. What about weapons? And your village's security? Personally, I wouldn't want to help a village whose security isn't well maintained. Said Homura. We have the standard kunai and shuriken. But we also have specialized versions of them in case someone wants to change things up a bit. For example, said Hiro, as he pulled out a strange shuriken. Unlike normal star-shaped shuriken, this was round. These shuriken are made of metal that absorb the user's chakra. They also contain a seal so that if the user is unable to retrieve them, they'll explode. The user can also bring them to explode, just like a paper bomb. The explosion is less intense, but the shrapnel can cause serious damage if the timing is right. And for safety reasons, I won't test that out. Not here at least. Hiro explained, placing the shuriken back into his pouch. The room was speechless at the explanation. I assume it requires a special sealing jutsu for it to work. Choza asked, getting a nod from Hiro. And your village's security? Koharu asked, reiterating Homura's point. Hey, you'll be lucky to get into the country. The whirlpools have returns, bigger and stronger than before. Even if you somehow get past the whirlpools, our security details are always on high alert. And our village is under the highest level of security any village could possibly hope for. Natsu explained. Your country's whirlpools have failed once before. You do realize that, don't you? Said Homura. Yes, but we have other security measures. We don't rely solely on the whirlpools for defense. That was our procedures, mistake. I've done my research, and we've found more efficient means of keeping our village secure. Even more secure than the 5 great shinobi villages. Said Hiro, with a lot of confidence. That's quite the bold statement there, Lord Uzumaki. Can you prove this? Shikaku asked, his curiosity piqued. Yes, but I won't go into details. I am willing to show the Hokage, Cage and two of their most trusted ninja. But only with an official alliance, and under the condition that it stays with those shinobi. Said Hiro, explaining his conditions in a deadly serious voice. Fair enough, said Shikaku, his curiosity rising slightly. And what about the prices of the merchandise? Asked the merchantman. Is there a point in negotiating that? I mean, we don't have an official alliance yet. The prices and such can be discussed after we have an alliance. But a fair warning. Because of the whirlpools, our merchants and such are practically risking their lives every time they come and go. Hiro informed. So you're going to overcharge your products? Asked the female fish seller. Oh, I'm sorry. It seems to me that none of you had a problem with that when a member of my clan was overcharged. Hiro began, with annoyance in his voice and on his face. And let's not forget that the land of fire is surrounded by even larger and deadlier whirlpools. Maybe I should just increase the amount Ryo for compensation of my fellow clan member instead. How's 150 million Ryo for no alliance sound? Or better for us yet, 200 million Ryo? Hiro asked, causing the civilian council to pale. You wouldn't dare. The civilian council yelled, simultaneously. Hiro stared at them with a firm and harsh glare. Keep in mind this meeting isn't just a political, it's personal. And not just to me, but my clansmen and fellow villagers as well. Don't test me, said Hiro, still glaring at them and causing them to gulp asterisk. Lord Uzumaki, please calm yourself. We don't need an international incident, said Tsunade, trying to defuse the situation. You mean like the one your apprentice nearly caused about a week ago? Yusaka asked, causing Tsunade to flinch. I apologize on my student's behalf. I've already come up with a punishment for her. But please understand that, Tsunade began, before she was interrupted. She was just trying to get information on Naruto. Yes, I understand, but that not reason enough to attack on of my ninja without provocation. Said Hiro, his voice now calm. I understand. She can be a hothead at times, so please show some leniency with her. Said Tsunade, sweating as she tried to save her apprentices. It's fine. Besides, she didn't attack with the intent to kill. No harm, no foul. Hiro replied. Sigh, thank you, Lord Uzumaki. Said Tsunade, grateful that he's so understanding. Now, time for you all to make a decision. I don't want my time to be wasted, and I doubt any of you won't be here for much longer. Now, please hurry, said Hiro, as he finally started to grow impatient. 1 hour later. Good to hear it. I'm glad you've finally come to a decision, said Hiro, as he shook hands with Tsunade. I'm looking forward to working with you. The same here. I'll have the official document of our alliance by tomorrow morning, said Tsunade. Good. I'll be at your office by 9 o'clock then, Hiro replied, as he and his escorts left the room. Outside the council chambers. I see you've finally showed up, said Danzo, with bit of irritation in his voice. You can thank the civilian council for that. Don't worry, we don't expect the leaf or sand villages to help out with our war. Hiro replied, with a smile. I thought I'd just give you a warning. A warning? Danzo asked, narrowing his eye. Yes, I'm already aware of the other eye of yours. If I so much as suspect that you're using it for your own personal gain, or that your organization is still up and running, I'll end you right then and there. Hiro said, in the most serious and threatening tone he could muster. It had the desired effect as Danzo's face went from slight shock to a mixture of shock and fear. Hiro then walked off to stroll around the Leaf Village. Danzo had managed to bring him out of his shock, and glared toward Hiro's back. Once Hiro was out of sight, Danzo decided to head back to his office to come up with a plan. After he took his first step, he noticed something different. Looking at his right arm, he noticed a scroll. It was the same scroll that had his men sealed inside. He picked up the scroll and quickly examined it. Deciding to inspect it thoroughly later, he stored the scroll in his pocket and continued on his way. not noticing the seal that transferred from the scroll to his hand, and then vanished from sight. Outside with Hiro and company. Seems like my new seal works, and I doubt Danzo has even noticed it, said Hiro, with a sly smirk. That's good. Means we can keep an eye on him, so to speak, said Natsu, sharing his leader's smirk. Placing a seal that places a different seal on the person that touches it on the scroll, while making it look like a typical storage seal is ingenious. Although it's ridiculously complex, I'm surprised it worked. But it gives us a way to keep tabs on this man. He's more trouble than he's worth. And personally, I think it was luck that your seal worked, considering we didn't get a chance to field test it. Yusaka replied. HMPF. Spoil sport, said Hiro, showing a slight pout. Despite this, it caused all three of them to chuckle. Enjoying yourselves, are we? Karen asked, appearing in front of them. To Yuya, Pakura and Guren by her side. Lady Uzumaki. Actually yes, we kinda are. The official alliance will be signed tomorrow. We got a certain someone out of power and your clan's new seal works like a charm, said Natsu, as he bowed to show his respect to the two female Uzumaki. The seal transfer seal. It really works? Karen asked. Yup. Tested it out on a certain pain in the. Hiro answered, giving a wink. Karen and Tayuya thought about it for a sec, before realizing who they were talking about. Are you nuts? You couldn't test it out on the battlefield first. Karen and Tayuya yelled, simultaneously. I just finished telling them that they were lucky it worked. But it does work, which is the point. No use in worrying about it now, it's over and done with. Yusaka explained, trying to calm the two hotheads down. Alright, Yusaka. As long as we got tabs on that asshole, it doesn't matter. Said Karen. Anyway, Karen, said Hiro, in a serious tone. Upon hearing that tone, everyone braced themselves for the orders they knew were about to come. I need you, Yusaka and Natsu to head back to the village, Hiro ordered. Yes sir, replied the three. Pakura, head to the hidden sand. And don't cause any trouble, please. Hiro ordered, sounding even more serious. Yes sir, Lord Uzumaki. Pakura replied. She didn't want to go, but she knew he had his reasons. Are you sure about this? Karen asked, concerned for her leader cousin. I have my reasons, Karen. Besides, I'll be fine with Tayuya and Guren. Hiro explained. Very well. We'll leave at dawn, said Karen, in a defeated tone. The next day, after the signing was finished, without any trouble. Which was mostly thanks to Danzo not being there. Although the civilian council were somewhat reluctant, they didn't argue as they believed they could profit from this. Some questions were asked about why Hiro appeared with two of his earlier messengers, instead of his escorts from yesterday. Hiro explained that they needed to head back to the village, in order to keep their village safe as well as upkeep their military movements. Upon hearing his explanation, they understood the change in witnesses. Tsunade took the signed document, and noticed something that surprised her. The members on both sides of the council, as well as the elders, noticed her surprise as she looked toward the hidden Whirlpool's leader. Is something wrong, Lady Tsunade? Shikaku asked, sounding a little worried. Lord Uzumaki. Is this a mistake? Tsunade asked, worried that this might be a trick of some kind. No, Lady Hokage. It isn't, Hiro answered, with a familiar foxy grin. So, you're really? Tsunade began, unable to continue to ask her question. Yup. Poof, it's really me, Grandma, said Naruto, dropping his transformation. Everyone in the room was stunned. So stunned that they couldn't even move a muscle. Naruto just grinned even wider, and bowed as if he had just finished putting on a performance. His right hand flourished and ended by his navel, as his left arm stopped behind his back. The shinobi of the council started to show an amused smirk, while the civilian side had mixed feelings. Part of them wanted him taken into custody, but knew there was nothing they could do now. The other part couldn't believe they were fooled by a teenager. Although, the others had that same disbelief. The elders had the same feelings as the civilian council. Naruto, how dare you fool us? Are you really that stupid? Tsunade yelled, her shock turning to anger. Really that stupid, or really that smart? By having this alliance, you don't have to send anyone after me. Because, I now have diplomatic immunity for as long as our villages are allied. Besides, how else am I supposed to keep Hinata safe when we're still dating? Hee, Naruto replied, ignoring the glare from Hiashi. A moment of silence went by, before Tsunade finally gave up and gave a slight smile. Sai, alright, you got us. It seems you haven't changed that much, you brat, said Tsunade, genially happy to see Naruto. Maybe not in personality, but he's a lot stronger than he was when he left. Said Yuya. Lord Uzumaki, said Hiashi, gaining everyone's attention. Everyone suspected what he was going to say, and they were proven right when Hiashi spoke again. Are you and Hinata still seeing one another? Hiashi asked, looking like he was about to strike. I don't know why you're so angry, Lord Hyuga. I mean, if you have something against our relationship, then you might want to look at this list of ninja that are going to be getting a pardon from the Hidden Leaf. Naruto replied, as he kept a smile on his face. Naruto then handed a scroll over to Hiashi, and retook his place in the center of the room. Opening the scroll, Hiashi looked down the list. His eyes suddenly shot wide open when he saw a certain name. This didn't go unnoticed by Naruto or the others. This can't be, said Hiashi. That's right. She's been in hiding, ever since her death. Hinata already knows this. And for the record, she approves of our relationship. She's now a hidden Whirlpool ninja, safe from any danger. She's been with us for years now. I'm sure she's got a bone to pick with you too. Haha, said Naruto, finding Hiashi's shocked expression amusing. Shikaku, who was sitting right next to Hiashi, looked over his shoulder. It took him a moment to find the name that was familiar to him as well. Gasp! Hikari Akatatsu, aka Hikari Hyuga, said Shikaku, earning a surprised gasp from the rest of the council, including Tsunade and the elders. Naruto decided to explain Hikari's situation, in order to prevent any questions. By the time he was finished, everyone had looks of shock or anger. Tsunade outright smashed the table in front of her. No wonder you wanted him out of power. But, you could have just had him killed. Why didn't you? Tsunade asked. Does it matter? Either way, I've already got close tabs on him. If he pulls anything, you'll have his head on another platter. Though, I doubt it'll be on a silver one this time. Naruto joked, causing Tsunade to get a tick mark on her forehead. I'm gonna stick around a couple more days, before I head to the hidden sand. I'd like to see Hinata before I go. Very well, I'll have everyone in the village informed ASAP, said Tsunade, giving a silent signal to the Anbu to discreetly release the information. There's one more thing, Lady Tsunade. But, it's a sensitive matter, said Naruto, looking around the room. Alright, the meeting is over. Lord Uzumaki and I have something serious to discuss. Tsunade replied, as everyone followed the silent order and left the room. Once everyone had left, Naruto pulled out a scroll. Hinata used my kunai to inform me of the cage situation. Once I appeared, I was behind one of the Akatsuki members. I took that chance to eliminate him. I used a sealing jutsu on the other. He can't move or use chakra. Taking him back to my village would be too obvious. Naruto began. Tsunade decided to continue in Naruto's stead. So you want us to perform the interrogation? Is that right? Tsunade asked. Right. But, I only trust you to know about this. I know you're not an interrogator, but this village has some of the best. It's best if you only have you top, and most trusted, to handle the interrogation. And I'd like a detailed report of the sessions. Naruto replied. Hey, It's almost scary with how you're handling being the leader of a hidden village, with so little experience," said Tsunade, with a small smile. "Look who's talking. Your experience leading a village isn't that much more than mine," Naruto replied, with a smile of his own. "But I have more experience leading others. So, my total experience trumps yours any day," Tsunade countered. "Touché. Anyway, will you take care of this?" Naruto asked, taking on a serious tone now. "Of course. I'll have Ibiki and Inoichi take care of it." "Who's the prisoner?" Tsunade asked, as she took the scroll. "Sasori of the Red Sand." Gasp. "You're kidding," Tsunade asked, shocked at the revelation. "Nope. And he's not really human anymore. He's a human puppet," said Naruto, adding shock to Tsunade's face. "I'll talk to you later. Right now, I need to get this to Ibiki," said Tsunade, as she began walking out the door. She stopped and turned her head to look at Naruto, before she opened the door. "It's good to see you again, brat." With that, Tsunade left the council chambers. "Ditto, Grandma. Ditto," Naruto replied, as he left the chamber as well. 10 minutes later, Naruto, along with Tayuya and Gurren, were walking through the village. As they walked, they heard whispering from the villagers. Some of the villagers looked at Naruto with hatred, apparently still not past the fact about the 9 tails. Those glares weren't as heated as they were in the past, however, that was probably with the revelation of Naruto's heritage. Others had a look of either having been betrayed, or had an apologetic look on their face. Naruto and Gurren managed to ignore the glares, Tayuya on the other hand didn't. She glared back toward those that glared at Naruto. Tayuya, Karen and Naruto had gotten to know each other very well over the past couple years. So well, that they considered each other like siblings rather than cousins. Eventually, the glares and harsh whispers became too much and she decided to lash out. "If you fuckers got something to say, then say it to our fucking faces. Otherwise, shut the fuck up and fucking deal with it, you fucking." Tayuya yelled, shocking the people with her choice of words. "Calm down, Tayuya. Trust me, it was worse a few years ago. Back before I left. Honestly, I prefer this rather than being ignored," said Naruto, trying to calm Tayuya down. "Those idiots need to learn respect. You're the head of our clan, and the leader of the hidden whirlpool. You practically brought the village back all on your own," Tayuya yelled, shocking those that haven't already heard the news. "That's not even close to the truth, and you know it. There's no way I could have brought our village back to this point, this fast, on my own. The hidden stone would have put a stop to it long ago. I couldn't have done this without your, Karen and everyone else in the village. But if you want to call them idiots, then keep in mind that could include the ninja of this village. Ninja that you'll probably have to trust to have your back," Naruto replied, earning looks of surprise from the villager. Tayuya thought about what Naruto said, and didn't like it. Sigh. "Fine, you win. I just hope someone is stupid enough to try something with me. I'd love to blow some steam," said Tayuya, with a sadistic smile. Sigh. "Whatever. Let's just get to where we're going," Naruto replied, knowing he can't fully neutralize Tayuya's foul mood. "So, where are we going? Not the hotel, are we?" Gurren asked. Naruto then got a huge smile on his face, which confused Gurren and Tayuya. "To get some of the greatest food on earth," Naruto replied, causing their faces to show even more confusion. Naruto suddenly threw his fist in the air, and yelled out the answer to the unasked question. "Ichiraku ramen." Gurren and Tayuya literally face-faulted at the answer, while the villagers just sweat dropped. Later as Ichiraku's, "Will you stop stuffing your fucking face with fucking ramen?" Tayuya yelled, as Naruto ordered another bowl of ramen. "Calm down, Tayuya. You're causing a scene," said Gurren. Tayuya's head snapped toward Gurren. "I'm causing a scene. What about Brownie over there jumping over the counter and glomping our leader?" Tayuya yelled, a little quieter, as she pointed at a slightly blushing Ayame. Or how about that our leader has already stuffed his fucking face with his fucking 16th fucking bowl of fucking ramen? Tayuya yelled, with full force toward Naruto as he finished and ordered another bowl. I'm just trying to get my fill, since we'll be leaving in a few days. Besides, I haven't had any decent ramen in years. Naruto replied, smiling brightly. TCH. Whatever. Just don't complain when Hinata decides to order our bakery's entire daily stock of cinnamon buns. Tayuya replied, smirking when he saw Naruto shiver. I thought I smelled you. Should have figured you'd be here, said a new voice, from the other side of the curtains. Turning around with a mouth full of noodles, Naruto saw that it was Kiba who spoke. Behind him he saw Kurenai and Shino. Swallowing his food, Naruto greeted them. Hey guys. How are ya? Doing good, man. Kiba replied. I'm doing well, said Shino. Good. How are your, Naruto? Or should I say, Lord Uzumaki? Kurenai asked, smirking at the annoyed face Naruto was made. Please, I don't like being formal unless I have to, Kurenai-sensei. Naruto replied. Alright, but you don't have to refer to me as sensei, considering you're the leader of the hidden whirlpool, said Kurenai, with a smile. Fair enough, Kurenai. Anyway, I heard Hinata kicked your guys' asses in a battle royal. Naruto said, with a huge grin. Don't remind me. I had no idea Hinata would be so strong, when she came back. Kiba replied, his head and arms hanging from slouched shoulders. Agreed, said Shino, his shoulder sagging ever so slightly. I for one am proud of Hinata. It seems Lord Jiraiya did an excellent job of training her, said Kurenai, with a genuine smile. Haha, you think so, huh? Tayuya chuckled, earning confused looks from Team Kurenai. What's that supposed to mean? Kiba growled. Why don't you think about it, mutt? Tayuya responded, with a smirk. Why you? Calm down, Kiba, said Shino, placing a hand on Kiba's shoulder. Turning to Tayuya, Shino asked. Either you are presuming that Lord Jiraiya is an insufficient teacher, or Hinata had more than one trainer. Isn't that right? Hey, at least someone on that team has some brains. Tayuya replied, not losing her smirk. Be nice, Tayuya. There are allies now. Besides, Hinata would have told them eventually, said Naruto, after finishing his 20th bowl. Who else trained Hinata, other than Lord Jiraiya? Kurenai asked, curious about Hinata's training over the past couple years. What about you, Naruto? Hinata must be able to kick your too, right? Kiba asked, inwardly laughing at the thought of Hinata standing over a beaten Naruto. Without the flying Raijin Jutsu, she can hold her own with me. With it, Hinata doesn't stand a chance. Naruto replied, enjoying the shocked look on everyone's faces. No way. If that's true, then let's have a match. Kiba demanded, a look of confidence on his face. He doubted Naruto could be as strong as he claimed. You know, it's rude to demand something of a hidden village's leader. But if it'll shut you up and make you a believer, then I'll accept. Naruto replied, with his own confident look on his face. Pardon the interruption, but I'd like to speak with Lord Uzumaki, said Hiashi, as he walked through the curtain. Hiashi's presence shocked everyone there. It wasn't often that one would see the head of the Hyuga clan in a small food stand like this. Upon seeing this man, everyone in the stand bowed out of respect. Although, Tayuya did so a bit reluctantly, having heard of the cruel things he said to Hinata. During the time Hinata spent in the hidden whirlpool, she had gotten quite close to the remaining Uzumakis. Naruto was a given considering her relationship with him. And Karen didn't seem to mind Hinata so much. But Tayuya thought she was just a pampered princess, from a noble family. Every time she saw Hinata, she'd get pissed off. She couldn't stand the sight of her, and always insulted her. Even though Naruto asked her not to, she didn't listen. It took Hinata standing up to her, and telling her that she was truly jealous of her. That just served to piss Tayuya off, and they ended up fighting one another. The fight ended in a draw, where they both had difficulty moving. They spent the night in the hospital, that was one of the first buildings to be built. Tayuya had spent most of that night thinking about what Hinata said. She came to the conclusion that Hinata was right. It was a blow to her pride, but she admitted it to Hinata the next morning. Hinata explained what her life was like as a princess, explaining that it wasn't easy for her having to meet such high standards. Since then, they became close friends. About Hikari, right? Naruto asked, sure that's why Hiashi was here. Yes. Could we please talk? In private, Hiashi requested. Why not? I'll meet you guys at Squad 8's old training ground in about half an hour, said Naruto, as he walked off with Hiashi Hyuga. Once Naruto and Hiashi were out of sight, Shino decided to voice a couple questions. Who is this Hikari? And what relation does she have with Lord Hiashi? TCH. Was all Tayuya replied with. Considering that person's life is now out of any immediate danger, I suppose it's alright to tell you. Gurren began. She then took a look at Kurenai and her team. Hinata's mother never died. It was a simple statement, but it shocked them nonetheless. What do you mean? Hinata's mother never died? Kurenai asked, barely holding back her anger. She knew the story behind Hikari Hyuga's death, and knew it hurt Hinata a lot. But to hear that she was never dead to begin with, made her quite angry. One of your elders, Danzo Shimura, wanted to take Hinata under his wing and make her his emotionless tool. Hikari offered herself in place of Hinata instead. After a number of months, Hikari took her chance and faked her own death. She's been in hiding ever since. Once she heard that our village was being rebuilt, she decided to join us. Believing she's safety was better guaranteed with us than on her own. Hinata has already forgiven her, because she understood her reasons for doing what she did. She, along with Natsu of the Chikara clan, have trained Hinata. Which is why she was able to beat you three. Gurren explained, leaving her listeners wide-eyed. With Naruto and Hiashi, is she doing well? Hiashi asked, once they were alone in the middle of one of the side streets. Yay. She and Natsu are the ones that trained her, whenever she was in the hidden whirlpool. Naruto replied. Upon seeing a small smile on his face, he decided to give him a heads up. But she does have a bone to pick with you. Looking at him with a confused look, Hiashi asked. What do you mean by that? Naruto replied, as he gave Hiashi a cold glare. Do what you will. She is of less worth than her sister, 5 years her junior. The Hyuga clan had no use for such an heir. That ring a bell? Naruto asked, with an ice-cold tone in his voice. Seeing Hiashi was surprised from the quote, he decided to explain. It wasn't Kurenai who told me, it was Hinata. You mean, Hinata heard that? Hiashi asked, as he looked down toward the young village leader. Yay, she heard. And you have no idea how much that hurt her. But, she still chose to forgive you. But Hikari will have something to say about you trash-mouthing your daughter like that. Naruto answered, his cold glare and tone still there. Naruto was angry about this, but he was sure he had his reasons. But there was no excuses, as far as he was concerned. Although, he was enjoying the sweat that was showing on Hiashi's forehead. He had a feeling it had to do with the thought of dealing with Hikari, rather than his glare and tone of voice. I'm in trouble. But, I'd like to see her again. Even if I do get scolded by her. It'll be worth seeing her again. Hiashi thought, as he regained his composure. Nonetheless, I have a request to make of you. If that's alright, said Hiashi. Sai Naruto dropped his glare, knowing that this was coming. You want to see her again. I understand. I figured you'd ask that of me. Naruto replied, with a calm voice. I have a couple conditions though, said Naruto, as they came to a halt. Hiashi was surprised that Naruto was already considering to accept his request. And those would be? Hiashi asked, hoping that they weren't outrageous. 1. Give Hikari a decent place to stay. And 2. Give her armed escorts, when she leaves her place of comfort. Those are my conditions. And I'm sure you can figure out why the second condition is in place. Said Naruto, seeing the look of understanding on Hiashi's face. Hiashi easily found the conditions acceptable, and easy to fulfill. Yet, he was curious as to why Naruto was agreeing to this so easily. Naruto, why give me such easy conditions? You should know that they are of little consequence to me, or the rest of the Hyuga clan. Hiashi asked. It's because I knew you'd be willing to protect her from Danzo, at any cost. Now if he were to try anything, he'd likely be executed without a doubt. Besides, I know it'll make Hinata happy and Hanabi a chance to get to know her mother, as long as she's the ambassador between our villages. Naruto answered, with a large grin upon seeing Hiashi's shocked expression. Hey, I'll take your expression as a yes to my conditions. Hikari will be here in a week or so. Now if you'll excuse me, I gotta go kick a dog, boys. Said Naruto, disappearing in an orange flash. Hidden Sand. Pakura had just been granted entrance into the Hidden Sand, and was currently on her way to the Cage Tower. Which of course she knew was in the exact center of the village. Luckily, the guards were young Chunin and didn't recognize her. Though, she still kept herself covered in a cloak. Eventually, she made it to the Cage Tower. She was about to check in with the Cage's secretary, when someone called out to her. There you are. I figured you'd be here sometime today. Said Hikari, signaling for her to follow her. Pakura had done so, and they soon found themselves outside the Hidden Sands Council chambers. The Anbu outside the doors, acknowledging their arrival, went inside the room to inform the Cage of their arrival. It didn't take long for them to be admitted inside. They currently stood in the center of the room alongside Haku. They all bowed to the Cage, with Haku giving the verbal greeting. We thank you for taking the time to meet with us. It's no problem. But, I assumed you village's leader would be here as well today. Gaara replied. Straightening up, Hikari was the one who decided to explain. If I may, Lord Cage. Our leader is still currently in the Hidden Leaf. But, he can be here instantly if you allow me to pull out a kunai. What does a kunai have to do with your leader arriving here instantly? Asked a younger councilman. Pulling out a three-pronged kunai, Hikari explained. The fourth Hokage used the tri-kunai, along with the sealing formula on its handle, to transport himself instantly to its location. His son, our village's leader, has learned this jutsu at the age of 11. I'm sure that by now, you all know of whom I'm speaking. Said Hikari, seeing the surprised looks on most of their faces. I see. How exactly does it work? Gaara asked. Only our leader knows the specifics. But, I just need to simply toss it into the air. He'll then appear, as if he was here the whole time. Hikari answered, getting a nod from Gaara in response. Very well. Then simply toss up the kunai. Said Gaara, giving them permission to use the tri-kunai in order to bring Naruto here. Hikari then did as told, tossing the tri-kunai a few feet in front of her. Then, in an orange flash, Naruto appeared wearing his white robe with orange flames. Yo, Gaara, how's it going? Naruto asked, tossing the kunai back to Hikari. How dare you greet Lord Cage so disrespectfully? Yelled a councilwoman, starting an uproar within the room. Gaara held up his hand, signaling for silence. Once the noise had dissipated, Gaara spoke as he lowered his hand. You all have a point that he should be more respectful. However, you all should show your respect as well. It was this man that saved me from myself. Because of him, I am no longer filled with constant bloodlust. He also assisted in saving me from the Akatsuki. In fact, he's the one who retrieved my body from their hands. And thanks to his words, Elder Chio decided to give me life, in exchange for hers. Said Gaara, causing the council to bow their heads in slight shame. Some, however, showed disgust on their hidden faces. Thank you, Gaara, and sorry for not showing you the proper respect. You are the Cage after all. Said Naruto, scratching the back of his head with a sheepish grin. It's all right. Now, shall we get to the negotiations? Gaara asked, already knowing the answer. An hour later, the alliance between the two villages have been accepted by the Hidden Sand Council. Taking this chance, Naruto wanted to bring one more thing to light. There's one thing I would to bring to light. We've all agreed to give a pardon to all the rogue ninja my village has taken in. But there is a ninja within my ranks that the Hidden Sand has declared Kia. Said Naruto, his statement causing everyone to lean forward. Interest clearly on all of their faces. And what does this have to do with our alliance? Baki asked. First, I'd like to know how many of the current council members were in their position back when Pakura of the Scorched Style was killed on her mission. Naruto asked. Surprisingly, most of the council's hand went up. That's about what I was expecting, considering I remember most of their damn faces. Pakura thought, pissed that so many of the ones who sent her to her death were still in power. That's more than I thought. Naruto commented. Naruto, what's this about? Gaara asked. Pakura was sent to battle against the Hidden Stone Ninja, and was killed in the battle. Ah, it seems your history lessons have been corrupted. You see, she was actually sent as a sacrificial pawn to the Hidden Mist Village. She was supposed to discuss a possible peace treaty with them, but as I said, she was actually a sacrificial pawn. Naruto answered, causing another verbal outbreak. How dare accuse us of betraying a member of our own village? What proof do you have of this? Yelled a councilman, once Gaara had gotten everyone to settle down. No, how dare you betray me like I'm trash? Pakura yelled, stepping forward and pulling her hood off. This resulted in shocked gasp *s from everyone, except the Whirlpool ninja, in the room. Naruto placed his hand on her shoulder, in an attempt to keep her calm enough to prevent attacking the guilty council members. Pakura looking into Naruto's eyes, and saw that he was upset as well. See the sympathetic look in his eyes, she nodded and took a deep breath. Naruto then turned to the council members. As you can all see, Pakura of the Scorched Style is alive and well. Thanks to the former leader of the Land of Water's revolutionary forces, and the current 5th Mizukage. Pakura assisted in the 4th Mizukage's reign. Not long afterward, I made Pakura an offer and a promise. Naruto explained. What kind of offer and promise? Gaara asked. I offered her a spot within the ranks of the Hidden Whirlpool. I promised I'd try to get some retribution on those responsible for her involuntary sacrifice. Non-violently, of course, Naruto answered, reassuring that he wasn't going to cause a bloodbath. I see. Personally, I'd want to see those responsible dead. Said Gaara. I do. But, Lord Uzumaki would only have so much say on my behalf. And he also prefers not to cause a war with potential allies. I admit that I don't like it, but I agreed on the condition that he wouldn't betray me. That's when he told me how that he had just been betrayed himself. So I know that he would never betray those that are loyal to his village. Said Pakura, glaring at the guilty council members. Those same council member flinched when she mentioned the word, loyal. One of said councilmen stood up in an attempt to explain their actions. Pakura, please, you must understand. Unfortunately for him, he wouldn't get to as he was interrupted by Pakura. Save it. I don't want to hear your excuses. You and the rest of this village proclaimed me as a hero. Yet you were willing to throw me away as if I were a broken kunai, when I was still strong enough to be of use to this village. Pakura yelled. It's obvious you're angry, and rightfully so. Well then, what is it you propose we do with the guilty party? Gaara asked, looking toward Naruto as he did so. We request the resignation of the guilty party, and be replaced with new and honorable people of your village. That's all. Naruto answered, earning stunned faces from the guilty members, as well as complete silence from the others. That's not something we can do so easily, Naruto. And even if we could, you don't exactly have the power to make us do so. Gaara replied, gaining hopeful looks from the council members. That's why I said that, we request. I understand that we have little say on how to run your village, but keeping these people in power could put one of my ninjas' life in danger. They've already sent her to her death once before. If they remain in power, they could send assassins after her. Behind your back, said Naruto. Seeing that the council members were about to object, he raised his hands to silence them. It's all just hypothetical. But, I wouldn't put it past you. In fact, I have been on receiving ends of assassination attempt after assassination attempt. And that's even though I'm not a ninja of the Hidden Leaf, which are the ones who have been performing these attempts. Of course, they were ordered by Danzo Shimura. Naruto finished, seeing the shocked faces on the eldest of the council members. Now, I know that this is the hidden sand and not the hidden leaf. But, the chances of orders being made behind the village leader's back are just as possible in any village. And that would include yours, as well, Lord Uzumaki. Isn't that right? Asked an elder councilwoman. Yes. But I've given a home to many ninja, both old and new to the hidden whirlpool. No one has a reason to go behind my back, for any reason. And I've gone through a thorough background check on the newer members of our village. Naruto replied. And what of your village's clans? The Kudo clan were known pirates, from what we've uncovered. Said another councilman. Yes, they were pirates. But they had standards. They never ruthlessly killed anyone. If a subordinate had done so, they were punished not nearly as ruthlessly as they killed their victims. The Kudo clan believes in justice. Funny as it sounds. They became pirates, to increase the hidden whirlpool's pockets, should the Uzumakis return to rebuild the village. Good to know that their efforts weren't in vain. As for the other clans, only one clan joined another village. They're the only ones who'd go behind my back, since we know that they're the ones who betrayed the hidden whirlpool village. But they're still part of the hidden stones. And they've been seen attacking our village, during our war. And no, we don't expect you to help us in our war. But we're getting off topic. I want my ninja to be safe from our allies. There is only so much I can do against our enemies, but I can do a little more when it comes to our allies. So please, Lord Casecage, take my request in serious consideration. Naruto finished, finally returning back to the point at hand. Making his request with a low bow toward Gaara. The room was silent, as saw the foreign village's leader bow his head. The sight also surprised Gaara as well. Naruto was always a loudmouth who talked a lot, but he also knew that he'd go to great lengths to protect his comrades. Very well, I'll take your request into consideration. Due to Pakura's past with this council, do I have your word that she won't do anything should I revoke your request? Gaara asked, breaking the silence. Raising his head, Naruto answered. I already made it clear that there wasn't much we could do, and made her promise not to act out on her anger. If she does, regardless of your decision, I'll punish her myself. I'm just looking out for one of my ninja, to the best of my abilities. My request applies to the current active members of your council, at least those that were on the council during Pakura's sacrifice. And not those who are now no longer part of the council. We're only going for the current guilty members, and not even asking for their heads. Just their loss of political power. And I know you can do this, because Danzo Shimura has lost his power within the Leaf Village. I've heard of this Danzo. And that he'll do anything for the Leaf Village. How did you get him out of power? Gaara asked. I was within my right to ask for his head. I gave them an alternative, which they accepted. I won't go into details, but if he tries anything, I'll kill him myself. Naruto answered. I see. I'll have my decision tomorrow morning, when we have our signing. Said Gaara, as he stood up, silently dismissing everyone in the room. Leaf Village. Danzo's home. Danzo was in his home office, speaking with one of his former root. Said root was kneeling before him, waiting for him to speak. Sai. The foundation is being disbanded. The others are going to quit being ninja. Except for you, of course. Said Danzo. I see. What is it you want me to do, Lord Danzo? Sai asked. You will join Tsunade's ranks. The Hyuga heiress will most likely be taking part in the upcoming Chunin exams, but she will be needing teammates. It's possible that you'll be placed on her team, as you'll be one of the only choices. Your mission is to gather any information you can on Naruto Uzumaki. He is the leader of the hidden Whirlpool village. I assume the information you'd would appreciate best would be any information on the Whirlpool village's security. Sai asked, receiving a nod in confirmation. Very well, I will certainly do my best. Is there anything else? Yes. If you believe she's a threat to our village, end her. But this must be determined before the second stage. End her during said stage, and only when an opportunity presents itself. She may have had Jiraiya teaching her, but she was considered a lost cause by her own clan due to her overly kind nature. Danzo answered. Very well. I accept this mission. I'll make my way to the Hokage's office immediately. Said Sai, bowing his head and leaving the house after Danzo gave him a nod. Streets of the Leaf. Team Kakashi with Hinata had returned to the Leaf Village yesterday. Hinata was currently with her teammates and sensei form Team Kurenai. She had found out that Kiba had challenged Naruto to a spar. Before even hearing what happened, Hinata had called him an idiot. The comment surprised them, as they've never heard her call anyone that before. Come on, Hinata. How was I supposed to know he would be able to beat me without the flying Raijin Jutsu? Kiba asked, holding his arms out to the side. That should have been obvious to anyone who's not a complete fool. Naruto had been trained, both physically, mentally and politically, by the clans of the hidden Whirlpool village. While he was helping to rebuild the destroyed village, and thinking of new techniques and security measures, Hinata replied, sounding as if was so simple. Why? You're kidding. There's no way he could do that. He was the dead last from our class. Said Kiba, only to be glared at by Hinata. Don't insult Naruto. I've been to the hidden Whirlpool a few times now, and every time it has become more and more secure. I can honestly say that the hidden Whirlpool is just as secure, if not more so, than any of the 5 great shinobi villages. Said Hinata. Despite her glare, her voice was very calm. Right. Sorry. Hinata. Kiba replied. Note to self. Don't insult Naruto with Hinata around. While Hinata and Kiba were talking, Kurenai and Shino were recollecting Kiba's spar with Naruto. Flashback. Naruto with Tayuya and Gurren, and Team Kurenai, minus Hinata, were on Training Ground 8. Kiba and Naruto were in the middle of the training grounds clearing, while the others were by the sideline. Ready, Naruto. I'm not gonna hold back. Said Kiba, as he and Akamaru got ready. Yay. Let's get this started. Naruto replied, getting into his own stance. Naruto's stance seemed pretty relaxed. His left arm in front of him, with his fist ju below his eye. His right fist was centered by his chest. His body was turned sideways, with his feet about 6 inches apart and at a 45-degree angle. Kiba then immediately dashed forward, with Akamaru following a bit behind. Naruto parried Kiba's left punch. Spinning as he parried the punch, he looked over his shoulder just before kicking Akamaru in his chest as he jumped at Naruto. The kick had easily sent Akamaru back the way he came. You asshole! Kiba yelled, as he turned back around swinging toward Naruto with a right hook. Naruto simply jumped to the side, dodging Kiba's attack as he did so. You're the one who wanted this match. You should be prepared to accept that either you and or Akamaru can and will get hurt. You should know this with your fight against the Sound Ninja. Said Naruto, returning back to his stance. Oh, yay. What would you know about fighting the Sound Ninja, huh? Last I checked you didn't fight any of them, not like the rest of us did. Kiba yelled. Kiba, I may not have fought them, but I'm the one that put an end to the hidden Sound Village. Orochimaru died by my hand. Not only that, but I'm the leader of the hidden Whirlpool. I send ninja almost every day to defend our home. Most of them get hurt, others aren't so lucky. So, I know a lot more about it than you do. Naruto replied, in a dark tone. The way Naruto spoke, it sent shivers down Kiba's and the others' spines. Well, except for Gurren and Tayuya. After letting what Naruto said sink in, he suddenly realized what he said. Wait, what? You killed Orochimaru? Yay, I just said that. I'm surprised you've just now heard that the Hidden Whirlpool's leader killed Orochimaru. Said Naruto. I've heard the news. Just didn't pick up on the fact that it was me that did it, huh? Well, whatever. Let's get back to the spar. Kiba got right back into his stance, along with Akamaru from the side. Kiba and Akamaru charged, with Kiba pulling out some smoke bombs. Poof. Oh please. Does he really expect to beat me like this? Oh brother. Naruto thought, as he jumped high into the air. Upon coming out, he found that Kiba and Akamaru were right there waiting for him using their fang over fang. Hey, not bad, but not good enough. Naruto thought, as he performed some hand signs. Wind style. Wind wall jutsu. An invisible wall of wind appeared between Naruto and Kiba with Akamaru. The jutsu put a stop to Kiba's and Akamaru's attack, forcing them crashing back to the ground. What was that? Kiba asked, as he and Akamaru stood back up. It's just as the jutsu says. A wall of wind. It's knocked you on your and gave you a couple cuts. Naruto replied. Kiba looked himself and Akamaru over, and sure enough there were cut in his clothes and a few cut on his hands. There were shallow cuts on Akamaru as well. Kiba looked back toward Naruto, ready to continue their fight. Albeit with more caution. Man, I didn't expect a defensive, wind style, jutsu. Not from Naruto. Still, Naruto is still Naruto. As long as he doesn't use his old man's jutsu, I can beat him. Thinking you can beat me as long as I don't use my dad's jutsu, right, Kiba? Naruto asked, getting a surprised look from Kiba. Hey, thought so. Let me ask you something, Kiba. How did he read me like that? Kiba thought. Okay, shoot. Do you think I'm the leader of a hidden village just because of my dad's jutsu? Naruto asked, earning another shock from Naruto. That jutsu is my trump card, but I've beaten quite a few enemies without it. Even Junin. So, don't think that I can't beat you simply because I'm Naruto. Said Naruto, with a confident and stern voice. Don't go all high and mighty on me, Naruto. I'm no pushover either. Kiba yelled, as he and Akamaru charged using their fang over fang again. That again? Naruto asked rhetorically, as he prepared another jutsu. Dodging out of the way, Naruto fired his jutsu. Wind style. Air bullet jutsu. Naruto fired off 4 blasts of air, 2 for each of his opponents. Kiba and Akamaru quickly stopped and then dodged Naruto's jutsu. Seeing them dodge, Naruto sped toward them. As soon as Kiba landed, he went to charge Naruto. Before even realizing that Naruto wasn't there anymore, he heard a yelp from Akamaru. Turning to where he heard his partner, he saw Akamaru headed toward the ground. Then he felt something hit the left side of his head, just above the ear, before he lost consciousness. Naruto was walking toward the others, showing that this spar was now over. Shino and Kurenai were shocked that Naruto could move that fast. What happened? How did he beat Kiba? Shino asked, seeing as he didn't really see what exactly happened. He shoulder charged Akamaru, and then kicked Kiba in the head. How on earth did Naruto get so fast? Kurenai asked, not even registering Shino's question. I trained. The Chikara clan don't mess around when it came to training that knucklehead. Tayuya answered, causing Kurenai and Shino's heads to turn. Naruto was trained by the head of the Whirlpool's clans. They didn't go easy on him. It took a while, but Naruto is now stronger and faster than anyone in the Hidden Whirlpool. Even without his dad's jutsu. Technically, it's the second Hokage's jutsu. Dad just made it better. said Naruto. Anyway, let's get back to the hotel. Right. Tayuya and Gurren answered. Naruto then turned to Kurenai and Shino. Let Kiba know that I had some fun. It's not often I can fight without using my head. Haha, said Naruto, as he and the others left. Flashback end. You've really grown more confident, haven't you, Hinata? Kurenai asked, with a smile. Smiling back, Hinata replied. Yes, I have. It's thanks to Naruto, Lord Jiraiya and the head of the Chikara clan. Anyway, I have to go home and report to my father. With that, Hinata left to head for home. The next day, Tsunade was currently in her office. In front of her was Sai and Hinata, the latter being curious as to who the young man next to her was. Hinata, the young man next to you is Sai. He'll be teaming up with you for the Chunin exams, as will Konohamaru. As he and his teammates decided to help you participate in the exams. The three of you will be training together until the exams begin. This is so that you can get to know how your teammates and yourself can learn to work together. As you, Hinata, are already aware that teamwork is critical during the second phase. Is that understood? Tsunade asked, after explaining their situation. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Hinata replied. Yes, Lady Hokage. Sai answered. Very well. Sai, you're dismissed, said Tsunade. Once Sai had left the office, Tsunade waited a few moments before continuing. Hinata, listen up. Yes, Lady Tsunade. What is it? Hinata asked. Seeing she had Hinata's undivided attention, Tsunade began. I'm sure you're aware of Danzo Shimura's actions against Naruto. Tsunade asked, receiving a nod from Hinata. Good. Danzo may have lost political power as well as control over his own organization of ninja. I'm sure he still has something planned. I see. What does this have to do with Sai? Hinata asked. Sai is supposedly the only one who transferred from Danzo's control to my own. I have little doubt that he's up to something. So, I'm telling you to be on guard at all times. Chances are Danzo wants intel on the hidden Whirlpool village. Be careful not to let anything slip. I fear that once Sai believes you have any affiliation to that village, he'll take you out. So be careful, but don't let him know you're onto him. Tsunade explained. I understand. I'll keep an eye on Konohamaru as well, in case something does go down. Naruto wouldn't want something to happen to him. Hinata replied. Good. You're dismissed now, Tsunade said, watching Hinata leave her office. She didn't want to let Konohamaru on this team, but his sensei seemed quite adamant about it. So, she reluctantly agreed. With Hinata, Hinata had left the tower, and began walking home. If Sai does try something, his best chance would be during the second phase of the Chunin exams. That's when I'll have to be on guard the most. Hinata thought, as she activated her Byakugan. She saw Sai following her, but didn't react to it. Sai, it's already begun. Bring it. Hinata smirked, not that Sai could see it. Day of the exams. Hinata, Konohamaru and Sai had met up in front of the academy. Konohamaru was the first to show, as he was the most excited to show what he's got in the exams. Hinata was next, and the two greeted each other while smiling brightly. Sai had arrived shortly after, smiling as he greeted them. Hello. Nice day today, isn't it? Yes, it is, Hinata replied, with a smile of her own. Yeah, said Konohamaru. What's up with this guy? I can't find a hint of emotion behind that smile of his, and big sis Hinata's smile is fake too. But she seems cautious around this guy. Why is that? Konohamaru asked himself. He knew from the beginning that Sai was off somehow, he just didn't know what. And Hinata always seemed a little different with him around. Shall we go inside? Hinata asked. Of course, was Sai's answer. Alright, Konohamaru replied. Next day, Forest of Death. The trip up to the exam room was uneventful, except when two, genin, were preventing other from entering back on the second floor. Konohamaru was going to expose their genjutsu, but was stopped by Hinata. When asked why, Hinata just told him that if they couldn't figure it out for themselves, they more than likely weren't ready to take the exams. Hinata of course remembered the two genin being the exact same way they were when she first took the exams. Which did make her a little curious, but just put as aside for now. The first exam was similar to the one she took 3 years ago. Even the 10th question from Ibiki Morino was the same, so she knew not to be discouraged. The only difference this time was that it was Konohamaru that yelled out in confidence. Hinata swore that he had said the exact same thing as Naruto had, causing her to chuckle. Now they were about to take the second phase of the Chunin exams. And like last time, Enko Mitarashi was the proctor. Hinata with her teammates were now at their starting gate, just waiting until the exam to begin. As soon as the gate burst open, they rushed inside, remaining high in the trees. It's been 10 minutes since the gates to Training Ground 44 opened, and Team Shuffle were currently in the middle of a clearing. Excuse me, but may I ask why we are in the middle of a clearing, during such a dangerous exam? Sai asked, with his fake smile. Sai actually has a good point, Hinata, said Konohamaru, agreeing with Sai. Giving off a genuine smile of her own, Hinata replied. For one, not many would dare go against us. This is due to the fact that we're older than most other competitors. Second, only the ones closest to mine and Sai's age will believe that they have a chance against us. Third, there are those who are younger, possibly around your age Konohamaru, that will be arrogant and try and take us out. With me so far. Yay, so far, Konohamaru answered, still not knowing where she's getting at. As for the latter two reasons, we have the advantage with experience. That and everyone will think that you're the weak link in this team, when that could be quite the opposite. Also, I have the Byakugan. So no one can possibly sneak up on us. So if anyone thinks they can, they'll be sorely mistaken. Hinata finished. Oh, fair enough, I guess, said Konohamaru. And if you're wrong, Hinata? Sai asked, never losing his smile. Hinata just looked at him with her own smile. HN. Trust me, I'm not. You should know that, and if you don't, then that just means you're not as good as you claim to be. Hinata replied, with an insult towards Sai's abilities. Sai just kept his smile, which irked Hinata. Although, Hinata didn't show it. Yet, Konohamaru could sense it. Yay. These two don't like each other. Well, at least that's the case with Hinata. With Sai, I can't sense anything coming from him. He's weird, Konohamaru thought. Are you going to use your Byakugan, or do you prefer to die by the enemy's hand? Sai asked. Tisk. I'm already aware that there are others nearby. Like I said, everyone will think that Konohamaru is the weak link on this team. Not to mention, I noticed that we have some sand ninja around our age that were on either side of us. So, we'll have to take care of them before we can move on to the next stage. Hinata answered, before activating her Byakugan. Indeed, she was right. There were 2 teams of sand ninja. Out of the 6, 4 were male and the other 2 female. Every one of them wore the same form-fitting outfit. Brownish shirts and pants, with turban-like headgear. Veils concealed their faces, to where only their eyes were visible. They wore their headbands on their left arm, and each had a separate kanji representing one of the 5 elements on their turbans. The 6th one however had a kanji for sword. She was the only one with a sword strapped to her back. 6 sand ninja. 4 male, 2 female. All of their faces are covered, this should be tricky. I suggest we take them on as a team, otherwise we're at an even bigger disadvantage. Said Hinata, informing her teammates on their situation. It seems you're the one who's not as good as you claim to be. I can handle some of them quite easily on my own, said Sai, returning Hinata's earlier jab. Then handle all of them if you can. But I'm sure you'll be conquered easier than you think. And I could defeat them on my own, but what point is it if Konohamaru doesn't gain any experience working with others who he's not used to teaming up with? Now, either shut the hell up and work with us as a team. Or we'll let you get beaten, so that you learn your lesson. Hinata replied, getting even more annoyed with Sai. Before anyone could say anything else, Hinata warned them to look out as a kunai with an attached paper bomb. The maneuver did as it was intended to. It separated the three-leaf shinobi. Hinata and Konohamaru ended up on one side of the clearing, while Sai ended up on the other. The six sand ninja then took their position in the center under the guise of the explosion. Once the smoke dissipated, the sand ninja stood between them. Three facing each side. Hey, this team must have been thrown together, judging by how these two were arguing. Said the girl, with the kanji for fire. Don't be silly, Kaya. They're more like a bickering couple. Ha ha, said a large muscular boy, with the kanji for earth. The comment earned a laugh from the others. You might be right about that, Daisuke. Yelled a small skinny boy, with the kanji for lightning. Can it, Yamaguchi? Yelled the girl, with the kanji for sword. Calm down, Mao. It doesn't hurt to have a little fun before taking down our enemy. Said a middle-sized boy, with the kanji for wind. Don't tell me what to do, Kiyoshi. Yelled the girl now known as Mao. Calm down please, Mao. Said the final boy, with the kanji for water. Fine, Noritaka. Mao replied, with a blush hidden under her veil. Thank you. Now, everyone, we should focus on our attention on our opponents, not their possible relationships. Said Noritaka, getting a nod from the others. Right. The others replied. Good. Let's go. Noritaka ordered. From that moment Noritaka, Mao and Kiyoshi went after Sai. While Kaya, Daisuke and Yamaguchi went after Hinata and Konohamaru. With Hinata and Konohamaru stood back to back, as they were surrounded by their three opponents. Haha. So, a little brat and a weak Hyuga girl. Said Yamaguchi. HN. I wouldn't call me weak. After all, my master is quite the shinobi. I'm sure you've heard of Jiraiya. Hinata said, earning wide eyes from the sand ninja. Jiraiya, of the Sanin. Why would someone like him train you? Asked Kaya, as she yelled out her question. That would be because of my boyfriend. And thank goodness it's not that idiot your comrades are going after. Hinata replied, smirking at them. I don't care who your boyfriend is, you're going down and so is that brat behind you. Kaya replied. Well, you should. Because her boyfriend practically saved your cage single-handedly. Said Konohamaru. Saved Lord Cage. You can't possibly mean Naruto Uzumaki. Why would he date someone from a village that threw him out? Daisuke asked. Sai, our village never threw him out. As for specifics, that's over your head. Said Hinata. Yay. Whatever. They're probably pulling wool over our eyes. Let's just finish them off. Yelled Kaya. With that, they began their attack. With Sai just stood there, waiting for his opponents to make the first move. Once they did, he'd use a substitution jutsu. Of course, he knew they'd expect it. But he had already prepared a counter-attack. Not going to attack? Noritaka asked. It wouldn't make much sense for someone who's outnumbered to make the first move, now would it? Said asked, answering a question with one of his own. Hey, I thought you wouldn't be this smart. Considering your age, Noritaka replied. To be honest, this is the first time I've stepped foot in these exams. Not like you weaklings. Sai replied, causing two of them to get angry. Like you're one to talk. You must be so weak, you had to beg to be put in these exams. Yelled Mao. Calm down, Mao. That's his strategy. The angrier we get, the easier a fight he has. And from the looks of it, he's been trained to keep his emotions in check. So the same tactic won't work on him. Said Noritaka. Am I right? Noritaka asked Sai, already having a good idea of what the answer is. It seems one of you actually has a brain. Although, for the Hidden Sands, Six Paths Squad, I'd have to say that you don't look as strong as I've heard you are. Said Sai, surprising them with the knowledge that he knows who they are. How do you know about us? Kiyoshi asked, as he narrowed his eyes at Sai. I can't say, for it's not any of your business. It's best if you don't know. Although, I believe that the sixth path is the yin-yang style. Not kenjutsu, said Sai, referring to Mao. Shut up, asshole, Mao yelled, as she drew her sword and charged. Completely ignoring Noritaka's yells of not to. Sai simply let Mao slice right through him, as he disappeared in a poof of smoke. Damn it, Mao yelled, in frustration. Before anyone could react to the situation, they suddenly couldn't move. Looking down, they saw that they were wrapped by strange black snakes. Before any of them could call out for help, another black snake covered their mouth, preventing them from making a sound. Sai then proceeded to knock them each out with a chop to the backs of their necks. Luckily he managed this, because an explosion just went off, the force of which would have disrupted Sai's jutsu. With Hinata and Konohamaru, just like with Sai, Hinata and Konohamaru waited for them to make the first move, which wouldn't be difficult. Hinata could tell that Mao was a hothead, and having a former hothead for a boyfriend, she knew how she could possibly get to her. What's wrong, Kaya? Jealous that I have an amazing boyfriend, instead of being lonely? Hinata asked. Hinata noticed the look in her eyes when Kiyoshi spoke earlier. They were the same eyes she would look at Naruto with, back when they were in the academy and even after. She knew it was a look of longing after a boy who didn't know of her feelings. Kaya yelled out in rage and attempted to swing a fist at Hinata. Her teammates rushed in to back her up, just in case her opponent used a counterattack. They almost completely converged on Hinata and Konohamaru at the same time. Once they did, Hinata and Konohamaru jumped up into the trees. During their jump, Konohamaru started a set of hand signs, which he finished by the time they landed on their own branch. Fire style. Burning ash. Konohamaru said, before he exhaled gray smoke. Said smoke was headed toward the three sand ninja. Kaya almost immediately noticed the jutsu, but she still managed to warn her teammates. Watch out, it's going to explode, she yelled. She and her teammates got out of immediate danger. Unfortunately, the shockwave blasted them away. The two males were a little slower, and got blown into a separate trees. Kaya however only got blown to the other side of the clearing. Hinata quickly reacted and got behind Kaya and hit her with a jutsu of her own. 8 trigrams, 32 palms, said Hinata, as she struck her opponent's said number of time. The attack sent Kaya back, effectively keeping her down, yet conscious. Why? You bitch. That was a cheap trick, said Kaya, as she stared up at Hinata. We're ninja. We use whatever trick we have to, in order to win. But, to be honest, I didn't mean what I said, said Hinata. What are you talking about? You look at Kiyoshi, the same way I used to look at Naruto. Never acknowledged by the one you have feelings for. It was the same for me too. Luckily, he returned my feelings. Even though I was too shy to ever tell him how I feel. But you're confident in your own abilities, while I wasn't. You have the courage to tell him how you feel, despite the fear you have. Don't let that fear control you. Otherwise, you'll possibly miss your chance to be with him forever. Hinata replied, shock showing on the other girl's face. Kaya's mind was a blank. She didn't know what to think. Here was a girl, just a year or so older than herself, telling her own backstory in her love life. Yet, in some weird way, it was inspiring her to do as she said. Is she right? Should I tell Kiyoshi how I feel, despite being afraid of being turned down? Maybe I should, Kaya thought, as some thoughts finally came around. Hinata turned around to her teammates. We should grab the scroll, and get going, said Hinata. As she was saying this, she saw Konohamaru already going through the unconscious members of the Sand Ninja teams. Sai on the other hand was just standing there, staring at her intently. Is there a problem, Sai? Hinata asked. Sai just smiled his fake smile, as he replied. No, nothing's wrong. Why would there be? Don't know. But you keep staring at me almost like you hit the jackpot on something, said Hinata, as she cautiously walked toward him. Are you implying that I'm happy? I'm sorry, but I don't really feel any kind of emotions. I know. That's why you won't feel guilty when you're ordered to do anything. That's why I'm warning you. Try anything, to either myself, my family or Naruto in his village, and I will beat you into the ground, and beat the fear of death into you, said Hinata, activating her Byakugan to emphasize her point before she walked off toward Konohamaru. Konohamaru was watching the ordeal between his teammates go down as soon as he found the needed scroll. He couldn't really hear anything once Hinata got closer to Sai. But he could tell that Hinata was angry at Sai, and it seemed she was threatening him when she activated her Byakugan. What is going on here? I know they don't like each other. But why? Konohamaru asked himself. Hinata walked to the edge of the clearing. Let's go, she ordered, just before she jumped into the trees. Konohamaru took a quick glance at Sai, before following. Sai then followed shortly after. It didn't take long for him to catch up to Hinata and Konohamaru. After a few minutes of silence, Sai broke the silence hoping to get some more information on Naruto and the hidden Whirlpool village. I heard your conversation with those sand ninja back there. I heard that Naruto is your boyfriend. Present tense. Which means you've still had a secret relationship with him this entire time. How did you hear? From what I could tell, you were having your own conversation with those sand ninja. So how could you hear my conversation? Hinata asked. I placed my ink mice around the area to detect oncoming threats, as well as to gain some information about their abilities, just in case you couldn't take them. Sai replied. Hinata came to a sudden stop, causing Konohamaru and Sai to overjump and land on the next branches. Konohamaru landed on the next one, while Sai landed on one further. Huh, what's wrong, Hinata? Konohamaru asked. More like you hoping to get information on my fighting skills, or more likely, information on the hidden Whirlpool's security. Am I right? Hinata asked, completely ignoring Konohamaru. What? Konohamaru yelled, glaring at Sai with an angry, but also a slightly confused, look. Sai just looked at her blankly, with his usual fake smile. Konohamaru was confused about the situation, was looking between his two teammates. He had no idea what was going on, but he was going to find out now. Okay, what's going on? You obviously don't like Sai for some reason, Hinata. And now you're saying he's trying to get information on Naruto in his village. Why would he do that? They're now our allies, said Konohamaru. Hinata kept staring at Sai, Byakugan flaring, making sure he doesn't try anything. But she didn't hesitate to respond. He's under orders from a man named Danzo Shimura to gather information on Naruto through me. Danzo is no longer in political power because of Naruto, because he's been sending assassins after Naruto for years. And has failed again and again. Danzo also believes that the hidden Whirlpool is a threat to our village. Hinata explained, still not taking her eyes off of Sai while keeping track of their surroundings. Konohamaru whipped his head towards Sai. He knew about Danzo, he often heard his deceased grandfather curse the man. He knew that this Danzo was a shady character. But Nae never thought that he'd try to kill Naruto. Staring at Sai, Konohamaru asked. Why? Why would Danzo think Naruto is a threat? Or the hidden Whirlpool for that matter? Sai didn't respond. He just kept standing there with his smile. It was Hinata who finally responded. It's more about Naruto than it is about the hidden Whirlpool. Naruto has what Danzo wants. Other than political power. Danzo wants this thing for military power. He's also jealous that Naruto had managed to get in charge of his own village, while Danzo is still hiding in the shadows. Danzo is nothing more than a self-righteous and self-pitying coward. What is this thing that would give Danzo military power? Konohamaru asked, looking toward Hinata now. Hinata hesitated. It's nothing you need to worry about, Konohamaru. Konohamaru looked confused at this. What's going on? Is there something about Naruto that I don't know? And if so, then what is it? Konohamaru thought. You can't just say something like that, and not say anything. So, what's going on? Konohamaru asked. She can't say. If she were to tell you, she'd be breaking a law your grandfather made 16 years ago. Said Sai, causing Konohamaru to look at him again. Huh, what law? Konohamaru asked. Unfortunately, he's right. If I reveal it to you, I'll be punished. But, so will he. But, let's just say that it has something to do with why Naruto left the village in the first place. And though I can't tell you about that, but, I can tell you why Naruto left. Hinata answered. Looking back at Hinata, Konohamaru asked a silent, yet obvious, question. Hinata answered. After the counselors removed Naruto from the ninja roster, Danzo approached Naruto later that night. He offered Naruto an opportunity to be a ninja again. But in order to do so, Naruto had to fake his death. And leave everyone he cared about behind. That includes you, me, Lady Tsunade and all of Naruto's other friends. During Hinata's explanation, Konohamaru's eyes narrowed from confusion, to shock and then to anger. He then glared at Sai, having already pieced together that he works for Danzo. So, Naruto leaving was all because of your damn boss. What kind of psycho is this Danzo guy? Konohamaru yelled. Danzo doesn't concern you. What he does, doesn't concern you. He does what he must to protect the Leaf Village. Even if that means he has to eliminate traitors, such as Naruto Uzumaki. Said Sai, causing Hinata to become quite angry. Don't you dare call Naruto a traitor. It was because of your cowardly boss that he left. Naruto refused to be Danzo's pawn. A choice that wasn't even offered to you. So it's possible that deep down, that you're jealous of that. And despite leaving, Naruto could have gone to war with us. But he chose to align our villages instead. Despite the assassination attempts made by that bastard, Danzo. Hinata yelled, having calmed herself down, only to start yelling again. Yet, that could be a ruse to plan an attack on our village. And due to your relationship with him, even during his 3-year disappearance, makes you a traitor and a possible spy. Sai replied, not letting Hinata's yell affect him. How dare you accuse me of such a thing? Yes, I've been in a relationship with him this entire time. But, that doesn't make me a spy. I never divulged any of my clan's secret, nor any secret that I may have had knowledge of the village's security. The only knowledge he's received about the Leaf Village, is what he already knew. And what my mother told him about Danzo. But that's all, said Hinata, refraining from yelling despite her anger rising. So, he knows how Lord Danzo operates. That's a problem for the village. Danzo takes care of the things that the late 3rd Hokage, and the current 5th Hokage, are too weak to do. Danzo does what is necessary to protect the Leaf Village. Sai retorted, as he thought. This truly is a problem. It seems Hinata and her mother need to be taken out. I'll have to take her out now. And I'll have to take out the 3rd's grandson as well. It would jeopardize Lord Danzo to leave a witness. Hinata had enough of Sai. She leapt forward, intent on beating Sai into the ground. He can stay out until we get to the tower. No one ever said he conscious when we make inside the tower, so long as we can wake him up. So, I won't beat him down too badly. Hinata thought, as she threw a chakra-laced palm strike toward Sai's heart. Sai simply dodged out of the way at the last second, by stepping to his left and jumping upward. Hinata quickly followed after him. Sai pulled out an unraveling scroll with an opening for his ink on one end, and pulled out a brush from the other. Quickly drawing some lions on the scroll, Sai activated them and sent them after Hinata. Ninja Art. Super Beast Scroll. Hinata saw the lions coming with ease, and quickly destroyed them with a quick series of palm strikes and kicks. Upon the ink beast's destruction, Hinata had to place her feet against the tree trunk due to the lost momentum. Sai took advantage of that. Pulling out his ninjutsu, he jumped toward Hinata in an attempt to kill her. Hinata saw his attack, and counter by quickly rotating. Unfortunately for Sai, he couldn't stop his descent in time. So he couldn't do anything to falling right into Hinata's rotation. Upon impact, Sai flew out of the trees and into the clearing, landing with a loud splat. As Hinata landed by the dispersed ink clone, the tree they were previously in began to collapse from where she used her clan's defensive jutsu. Looking around with her Byakugan, Hinata surveyed her surroundings for the real Sai, which was quite easy despite the 10 or so ink clones around the area. Konohamaru, watch out. Sai has numerous clones around us, he could use you to get to me. Hinata warned, knowing that this was most likely Sai's plan now. Quickly jumping down to the forest floor, Konohamaru stood back to back with Hinata. Right, Konohamaru said. Hinata then, as discreetly as possible, told Konohamaru all the clones' positions, as well as Sai's own position. Both knew better than to just head straight for Sai. He was stronger and smarter than he looked, so it wouldn't be easy to get to him. Not only that, but going after him would also leave them open to the clones' attack. It also didn't help that they were lower on numbers. Hinata, Konohamaru and Sai, with clones, were at a standstill. Every time Sai or his clones moved, Hinata would inform Konohamaru. Suddenly, after just a few minutes of their standstill, Hinata began smiling. Looks like the odds are now going to be in our favor. You might as well give up now, Sai, said Hinata. Hinata, you wanna fill me in on what's going on? Konohamaru asked. Hinata didn't reply, she just continued smiling as a few of Sai's clones were taken out. And 3 newcomers arrived, standing back to back in their fighting stances. Hey, Hinata, need a hand, said a young girl, with brunette hair. Her hair went down to the small of her back. She also wore an ocean blue karate gi with a black belt, with matching sandals. The boy next to her had black hair, wore a light blue sweater with a green hood. He also wore ninja pants that was the same shade of blue as his sweater, with matching sandals. The final member of the Whirlpool trio was another girl. She also had brown hair, but she only had it down to her shoulders. She also wore an ocean blue karate gi, but with a red belt instead of black. She also wore matching sandals. All 3 of them wore a Whirlpool headband on their foreheads. That would be nice, Ran. Hinata replied. It's been a while, huh, Hinata? Asked the other girl. Sorry to interrupt, but we have more important business at hand, girls, said the lone boy on the team. Shinichi is right, Hinoka, said Hinata. Right. So, what's the deal here? Asked Hinoka. Some sort of disagreement between Hinata and the kid that's our age with their teammate. That about right, Hinata? Shinichi asked, after giving his take on the situation. Shut up, you smarta! Exclamation mark quote. Hinoka yelled. He's right. Not only that, he was placed on my team so I could participate in these exams. But he had an alternative mission. To gather information on Naruto and the hidden Whirlpool. Now, he's trying to kill me as well as Konohamaru in order to prevent any witnesses, said Hinata, preventing an argument from happening between the 3. Shinichi is Yusaka Kudo's son. He's talented in genjutsu, and is almost as perceptive as his father. He also has some taijutsu skill from his mother's teachings. Ran came from a civilian family, but excelled in taijutsu and some ninjutsu. Hinoka was Natsu Chikara's daughter, therefore she had quite the taijutsu potential. Without her clan's teachings put her almost at Ran's level, but with them she far outclassed Ran. Ran and Shinichi had secret feelings for one another, but it was obvious to Hinoka. Hinoka couldn't stand Shinichi due to his smart and perceptive nature. To her, every time Shinichi spoke of the perceptions he made, it seemed he was always bragging. Mostly to impress Ran. But to her, it was just annoying and unnecessary. Then we just have to deal with those weird clones, while Hinata takes care of Danzo's dog. Ran called out, as she prepared to leap forward to attack. Those clones aren't normal. We should be careful, said Shinichi. No kidding, Hinoka replied, in a deadpan-like voice. Anyway, Hinata's the only one who could take on Sai. But we should still watch out for his clones, said Konohamaru, as he prepared to make his own move. Alright, let's go, Hinata ordered. After Hinata gave away the clones' positions, they all leapt into the trees to deal with the issues at hand. Sai and his clones were prepared for the oncoming attack. Although his enemies knew his and his clones' location, he still had the numbers advantage. Not only that, but his ink clones didn't require a lot of chakra. So, he could easily replace any that he lost. Which he did. Every time a clone fell, he created another two in its place. This strategy forced Hinata to help the others. Hinata was taking on 3 clones, dodging and parrying all their strikes. It was taking almost all she had to keep them at bay. Eventually, she managed to get out of reach from the clones. She took that opportunity to get behind a tree, where she jumped up into the leaves. It didn't take long for the clones to come around the tree, and figure out she had hidden herself above clones, then quickly followed, and were once again on top of her, mercilessly attacking her with their ninjatus, trying to cut her up. Sai was watching everything from his perch in the trees. He had also lost track of Hinata when she went behind the tree. But it didn't long for his clones to catch up with her. Thanks to the mental link between him and his clones, he could see and hear what they did and vice versa. He however didn't realize what Hinata was truly capable of. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Hinata called out, in such a cold voice it actually sent a slight shiver down Sai's spine. She then quickly struck Sai, causing him to fall out of his hiding place and his clones to disperse. Once Sai landed with a loud thud, Sai looked up at her and said, I see. You must have created a shadow clone when you hid yourself in the tree. While the clone fought mine, you circled around me in order to launch your attack. That's right. It's too bad you were too confident in your own abilities. That's why you didn't see me use my just you, a jutsu that Naruto taught me, after he started rebuilding the hidden whirlpool. So despite not being a part of our village anymore, he still made this stronger. Even if only slightly, said Hinata. Yet, as far as Lord Danzo is concerned, Naruto is still a traitor. Sai replied. That man is nothing more than a coward. He sends his dogs to do the dirty work, while he hides in the shadows of his home and office, said Hinoka, as she and all the others landed in the clearing. All of them seemed to be a little out of breath. Easy to understand considering their odds were only getting worse as time passed. Doesn't matter anyway. Once Lord Uzumaki hears of this, Danzo is as good as dead, said Shinichi. No one will get to Lord Danzo. Naruto not once had touched him, so it's impossible for him to get close without causing a scene. Sai countered. Not if the Uzumaki's seal transfer seal is working properly, said Ran, as she held her left finger to her cheek. Shinichi and Hinoka quickly covered Ran's mouth as Hinoka harshly whispered in the latter's ear. Are you nuts, Ran? You can't divulge such techniques to the enemy. Leaf and Whirlpool are allies, but the Foundation's root aren't. Telling him that only helps Danzo. OMFs. Fori. Apologized Ran, with her mouth still covered. Seal transfer seal. What is that? Sai asked, wanting an answer. Let's just say, you'll find out after Danzo's gone. For now, worry about yourself, said Hinata, as she hoisted Sai up. Anyone want to help me beat some sense into him? Hinata asked. Sure. No thanks. You bet. No one should attack their comrade like that. I'll pass. Maybe next time, said Ran, Shinichi, Hinoka and Konohamaru, respectively. Alright, have it your way, Hinata replied, as she kicked things off. Hinata, Ran and Hinoka then proceeded to beat a defenseless Sai to where he looked black and blue wherever any exposed skin was. The next day, Hinata's team and the team from the Hidden Whirlpool made it to the tower in the middle. The Hidden Whirlpool team had already captured a scroll of their own by shortly before they met up, and assisted Hinata and Konohamaru. Upon entering the tower, Hinata and Konohamaru unraveled the Heaven and Earth scrolls. Tossing the scrolls away, they waited for someone to appear via summoning jutsu. With a poof, came the appearance of an all too familiar Junin. Kakashi-sensei. It's good to see you. Greeted Hinata. It's good to see you as well, Hinata. Hello there Konohamaru. Kakashi replied. Hi, said Konohamaru. It seems your teammate is a little tied up. Care to explain? Of course, Kakashi-sensei. I'm sure you know about Sai, correct? Hinata asked, receiving a nod from Kakashi. Well, his mission was to gather information on Naruto and the Hidden Whirlpool through me. Unfortunately, he managed to determine that I'm a traitor. Since Naruto and I have been secretly dating during my journey with Lord Jiraiya. So, he decided to try and eliminate myself and Konohamaru. Both to achieve the elimination of a threat and a witness, respectively. Hinata explained, earning a single wide eye from Kakashi. I see. I admit, your continued relationship with Naruto is a surprise. Which I'm sure Lord Jiraiya was aware of this. Kakashi asked, earning a nod from Hinata in return. Well then, no harm no foul. As for the rules of the second phase of these exams, your entire team needs to make it to the tower. Since Sai isn't incapacitated, you all pass. Although, you're going to have to release the seal that's keeping him bound like this. I'm aware of that, Kakashi-sensei. That's why Shinichi will release the seal, once this phase is over. Hinata replied. All right. Well, have fun you three. Oh, and don't go too overboard. Said Kakashi, referring to Sai's heavily bruised body. The next day, Danzo's home. Danzo was in his home office, wondering why he hasn't received any reports from Sai for 3 days. It's unlike him to go so long without sending a report. Especially since he and his team should have completed the second phase long before now. Something must have happened. Sealing jutsu. Body and chakra binding jutsu. Said Naruto, quickly. Just like with Sasori, Danzo was surrounded by a black vortex with red markings all over. Once the vortex disappeared, Naruto walked in front of the desk and sat down facing Danzo. How did you get in here? Danzo asked, as that was all he could do because of the seal. I never touched you, but the scroll I gave you did. The seal on it had a second, hidden, seal on it. The seal transfer seal. It's a sealing jutsu that secretly transfers a second pre-programmed seal to someone else upon contact. In other words, once you touched that scroll, you became marked by a certain seal. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you which. Naruto explained, earning a look of complete shock from Danzo. Why you can't mean? Danzo began, when he suddenly stopped at Naruto's nod and wide smile. That's right. Just so you know, you violated your village's agreement with mine. You can't have any shinobi under your command, yet you snuck in this Sai character. He's already tried, and failed, to kill Hinata and Konohamaru. So, before the second phase ends, your life will also end. Said Naruto, having Danzo's eye widen further in shock. Naruto wasn't sure how that was possible. Calming himself down after a few moments, Danzo took a deep breath. Get it over with then. Said Danzo, accepting his fate. Haha. Don't worry, I won't end you here. I'm going to give you a fighting chance. But, you'll have to fight alone. I've already picked out a battlefield too. It'll be a one-on-one ninja battle. And I'm not going to underestimate you. Said Naruto, as he grabbed a hold of a surprised Danzo and disappearing in an orange flash.